Buddy, we've made it. We're here, everyone. Welcome into the PHNX Rising Podcast, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. Go in to one of their many locations. Get a 79-cent or pop 69 cents. Nice deal if you are an Inner Circle member. I am Max Simpson. I'm joined here on this terrific Tuesday by my partner in crime, Mr. Owain Evans. How we doing, sir?
Oh, it's a trade deadline Tuesday as well for our friends at the D-backs.
Sure is.
They're making some moves.
They are making some moves. At least one of these teams that we're covering making some moves. Ouch! We're getting off to...
They did make a couple. And we'll have some more to talk about afterwards.
It was there.
It was a segue.
It was there. Yes, but hey, appreciate everyone joining us here on a Tuesday. It's nice to be back, right? Those Friday games, you know, they're something, but it's nice to be back to our usual Tuesday.
Well, there's something when it's that dismal.
I mean, yeah, we'll get into that very shortly. But yes,
that was bad.
Yes, we got Harry in the chat, and who reminds us, for perspective, as a San Antonio FC fan, it can get worse. You're darn right, it can. Fat Kid with showing us the love. Again, make sure to hit that like button. Again, reminder, everyone, you can check out we got going on, phnxlocker.com. Rep these shirts. Owen's got the nice D-back shirt. I got the new taco truck shirts. Get them, phnxlocker.com. All the great stuff there. Become a diehard. You get your first shirt for free. Oh, yes. Everyone in the chat, Phoenix of old is dead. And, you know, I'll say this. It certainly has seemed a long way off from Rising winning the title last season. We've talked about this multiple times, that this is definitely a different team. And I think the thing about last year is there were a lot of matches that were kept close. Yes, you had some blowouts on both ends of fields, but I like to think that even when they stalled, yes, they had some losses even against like Miami away, stuff like that. There were some low points. I think this is another low point in the last couple of years. Phoenix Rising with a 0-0 draw against Hartford in what I think we described as we called it a lot of things, but I think yes, exactly. That's a good one. Owen snoring is a good way to sum this up. Oh, we're doing a live pod.
We're on. We're on. It's all right.
I don't know how you.
I was just thinking about that Phoenix Rising game in Hartford, which was a really exciting clash. I mean, I really love it when you have to reclassify like weak crosses as shots on target so that there's more than one apiece for the entire game.
That is incorrect.
It was sleepy. I mean, again, the best chance that Rising had fell to Juan Carlos Azucar, and you know, I'm not going to be too mean to him. I don't think he's necessarily the person that you want those chances to be falling to, right? You've got some dangerous players in there who can actually create things. I mean, even you look on the alternative flank there, Gabby Torres is someone who can be a danger when you get him into those positions. We've seen him score goals in the past, and so you kind of would have preferred that it was someone like that was there, or obviously a Dariusz Formella, or I mean even an Emi Quayshaw or a Fede Varela or a Charlie Dennis, to be honest. But that's not what we saw. We saw a really boring performance overall, and two sides that I think didn't quite find a way to really create any kind of edge in that game. And yet, at the same time, Rising probably lucky to come away with a point, because I think there was a very good shout for a Hartford penalty at the very end of that game.
There was. I mean, going that Pat, echoing you, let's be honest, Rising is boring. I mean, right, again, it wasn't even an up and down match with a bunch of chances or anything like that. This was, to your point, Rising, don't let the 3 shots on target fool you. there, we looked at the stats and it's saying that, first shot on target was in the 12th minute. No, it was very much a
Look
cross.
at it this way:
Yeah,
when the short list for player of the week came out, there was no shock in my mind that no one from this game was.
It's shocker.
Was
yeah,
included.
not even close. No, I mean, right, the first true shot on target, really the only shot on target, right? That Juan Carlos has a car chance. Where again, like to his credit, it was a first-time ball over the top and like difficult angle. Maybe someone else buries it, but again, if that's your only real genuine chance, it's just not good enough, right? There was a bit more of a varied approach, and it was the only sort of spark when they went more direct as opposed to this kind of buildup that seems very inconsistent with this club. But again, you have got some guys on the team who can get in those more dangerous positions. Again, yes, he can do a job. You can get guys in on the wing backs. Charlie Dennis, seeing him work a bit more forward, but it's just disjointed. And when it results in, realistically, that is a 0.36 XG for Rising, that's not going to get it done really ever.
Second half, right? We've seen this team come out after second halves and actually do a little bit more. Sometimes in some of these games, right, they can start a little bit slow, and it feels as though they go in at the break, they chat to each other, they work things out, and they come out and look better. Even if they're not quite good enough, they look better. At the same time, Phoenix Rising came out in the second half of this game and put a 0.03 XG on one single shot. One single shot, not one on goal, one single shot for the entirety of the second half. When you're doing that, I mean, again, it's one of those things whereby I think Rising had some ideas for maybe, well, if we try this, we try that, see where it goes, and none of it worked. Absolutely none of it worked. I think that this was probably one of the most forgettable games I think I have ever seen this club play. Yeah. Genuinely. No, it was just utterly forgettable.
That's a really good way
It was one of those ones that was just quite funny that it was on national TV because it was a terrible advert for the league. It was truly an awful advert for the league. People who turn around and say that this sport is boring, wow, that game was writing the script for those people. 0-0 draws can be exciting. They can be end-to-end. They can have endless chances whereby it feels like a team, but often a lesser team, is just hanging on for dear life. And that wasn't what we saw. We saw a team that just, I don't think either side was able to really find any way of turning the game around in a way that they'd have liked. And yet at the same time, Hartford, as probably the worst team going into this matchup, managed to probably have the best chance with a penalty shot that probably should have been given. They're also on a winless streak of 6 games in the moment, by the way, Hartford Athletic.
Boy.
And have failed to score in 8 of their 19 matches this year.
Yes, shout out as well, everyone in the chat. Sally, Kevin, Andrew, Band News of Bluebird. Do actually want to throw...
it was on the Insomnia Network.
Yes, there. Oh gosh, there it is.
No, it wasn't. It was genuine national TV.
Well, I know we talked about the penalty a bit. Can get into it a little bit more in a second. I do want to address Fat Kid's comment on his question, why don't they shoot? At some point, as a footballer, you got to want to shoot right. Please explain to me why they just don't have a crack at it. And honestly, I think, right, it's typically, and we've even seen this, we've even almost said it too much the other way last season of, right, this team is shooting from sometimes too far. There's not enough threatening chances. If you're just putting it from outside the box, how are you really threatening? I mean, to Fat Kid's question, I think there is a happy medium. I think this team very much can and should shoot the ball more, but even more so than that, not only are you shooting from maybe a little bit farther out, have a bit more of a crack to keep it honest. I think the bigger indictment on this club is they're very often looking for the perfect ball. We have seen so many times that what works for them is they're able to drive down towards the end line, put in a low, shallow ground cross around the 6-yard box, and someone trailing follows it in. If that's not open, this team is out of answers. And I think that's where the issue is yes, I think more shots can help, but really I think you need to have a more varied approach on how you're going to attack the final third, because we just have not seen that at a more clinical rate.
I mean, excluding a couple of ones that are right on the edge, they only had about 14 touches in the opposition box, which turned into 7 shots. So they were shooting, I think, on about half of those touches in opposition box, but Although even then, only 4 actual shots inside the box.
Yes, Statlacky Reese was back from vacation.
Statlacky Reese is here.
Statlacky Reese, and it looks like he has a stat, 23 penalty areas entries. It is their 5th lowest all season in a match, which, I mean, goodness gracious, that's 5th lowest. That it's kind of scary about the other 4 lower than that. But, right. I mean, that's the crazy thing, too, is
5 touches in opposition box in the second half.
That is correct.
They did very little.
They did very little. I mean, here's the crazy thing, too. But this is kind of going back to that kid's point of like, right, what can they do to be more clinical? They had 95 successful passes in the final third. That's third most all season, okay? The first was the home win against El Paso, and the second was against Miami. So this, in theory, successful passes in the final third, that translates to shots and goals, right? No, because if it's not in the right positions, if you're not able to keep defenders honest, you can pass happy all you want. You can win the possession all you want, hanging in the rafters. Look, we won possession FC. There we go. This club does it. It's not for a lack
Swansea City style.
It's oh boy. It's not for a lack of passing. It's not for a lack of taking up the right spaces. It's, are you able to put some risk on putting the ball in a dangerous area? And I just don't think we've seen that enough.
No, we haven't. And that's where things are going to have to get better, I think, overall for this team, right? Again, I think we saw as well a game where people were really crying out to see what Charlie Dennis could do. They wanted to see him start, and I don't think he was fine, but I don't think that we saw his best either in this game. Again, these things can take time. That's understandable. And he did get a lot of touches, and he did create a few chances in there. But again, it's, and I mean, again, the passing accuracy is fine, but like it's just a simple case of this team needs to actually create things, right? The underlying numbers are all well and good in terms of telling you things about how good someone may be. But the problem is that ultimately what matters at the end of the day is getting the goals. If you can't find ways to set up the right teammates in the right moments or get goals yourself, then you're not going to ultimately have success, right? And that goes back to what we said as soon as Charlie Dennis came in. The question becomes, do we see something like Oakland in his season when he had there, whereby he played that bit deeper? He had a lot of good underlying numbers, but the actual outputs were not the best? Or do we see something that looks a little bit more like Tampa Bay, whereby, again, to be fair, you're in Tampa Bay and you look good, you're probably going to get better outputs just because that is a good team. The problem you have is that this team in itself, just personnel-wise, is so much closer to that Oakland team. Okay, how many of those players are Oakland players? Way too many from that exact same season. I believe it's 5 of us besides Charlie Dennis overall in the squad who could be starting any given game. So again, right, you've got to work out how you're going to piece that thing together. You got to work out how you're gonna make things work. I see that Max has just pulled up something on his laptop there. I think it's like an average position, and he wants to kind of go on. Do you want to explain?
Yeah,
you pulled a grimace there.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's nothing. It's too crazy. It's just if you're looking at kind of like Charlie Dennis's position, I feel even in the cameo that he had the week prior, where he kind of flourished was that combination play where he's able to receive the ball deep, play a little 1-2, play another 1-2, send someone into space, and continue following the run. And I think you just didn't really see that this match. No. You saw him play a couple balls that, I mean, early in the first half that were threatening, but by and large, this team was out in isolation. I mean, yeah. Right? I think often you are going to see teams, if they're not clicking offensively, you're seeing either it's too jumbled or it's too much in isolation. And I think Rising, I actually think their spacing in the midfield's fine. It's more so there are times where you have your wingbacks, they're completely in isolation, and you're almost doing them a disservice because it's like, okay, go beat your man one-on-one. Yeah. No disrespect to Juan Carlos Azacar, Gabby Torres, Gardarito, whoever they're putting out there, that's just not their game. Like, so, and that's also not how this attack flows. These guys, they flow best in these attacking wingback systems where they're able to put in a shift, even if head coach Diego, even if he's able to actually consider them more of wingers rather than wingbacks or defenders, whatever you want to classify them. They put in a shift and they're just not in that isolation game. I think that's where, if Phoenix Rising is going to improve, as opposed to, of course, the obvious need for a number 9, which we've more than said, and we'll get into that further. They need to be able to get more out of their wingback positions and have them taking up threatening positions.
The other thing that intrigues me is that Emi Quayshow is playing quite deep in there. He's the deepest of the 3 midfielders.
Oh, yeah.
Or more midfielders if you want to count people like Fede Varela as well in there. He's playing quite deep, and yet at the same time, he's creating the most in terms of XG. This is someone who gets a reasonable number of final third entries. He takes 2 shots, 1 on target, 0.15 XG, which is, at this point, not a million miles off of half of Rising's XG for the entire game. Yeah. You're playing him that deep. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's I've seen that in these last 2 games and wonder a little bit if maybe you'd have a bit more success if you played him a bit higher up the field. Again, the question, one of the questions that will always come up is how well Federico Varela's playing. He was someone who, again, we know didn't feature really at all in that title push last season. By the end of the season, he'd completely fallen out of favor. And yet we know he's someone that came into pretty high plaudits within this club when he was first signed. So the question really I have now is, are we seeing the Fede Varela that we were promised? Or is it just a scenario where he's being played despite maybe not seeing the Fede Varela that was promised? And is he the right guy to be playing out there? I don't know. And again, the problem you have is it's harder, I think, to look at this long term and feel like you can look at it long term when you don't yet have a manager in place and a permanent manager in place. It also makes things harder for us, right? Like we have a press conference coming up with Diego Gómez, right, as Rising's interim coach, coming up on Thursday. But obviously, you know, the long term questions you can ask are a lot more difficult because he doesn't know if he's going to get the job, if someone else is going to get the job, or what's going to happen. You kind of are in a position whereby any given week you don't know, like, if you're trying to implement your own ideas, are you going to be able to carry that through? Are you going to be able to make this a longer term project to implement what you're trying to do? Or is the rug going to be pulled out of you and have somebody else come in and take over? That makes things hard. And the players may be behind him for now. That's the word that comes out of the locker room. That's what's said in all of these games. But
bless you,
but again, it's difficult when you don't have the safety net of knowing that you are being trusted to build a project rather than to just kind of sit in that role for now while they think about who's going to come on in. And that's not to say that you have to rush to a decision on a new manager, but it does leave you in an awkward limbo when you don't have an idea at this point as to how soon somebody may come in.
I agree. One thing I'll be rushing to, Circle K, to get a nice cold Polar Pop or Froster for only 79 cents. Actually, that's not true. I'll be rushing in to get one for 69 cents. Pretty.
You are a member of the Inner Circle program, is that, Max?
Tootin' I am. Become an Inner Circle member today. It is full free. All you got to do, download the Circle K app, opt into the Inner Circle program with just a phone number, and you can save 25 cents off a gallon for your first 5 fill-ups. Of course, you get that nice discount.
I filled up at Circle K today, actually. And you know what? When I let go, it finished dead on $15. I've got a photo to prove this. I'll show you later.
Oh, okay. I like it.
What a day. What a day.
I'm very happy for you.
There we go.
That's actually pretty fun when that happens.
There we go.
That's nice. But yes, download the Circle K app. Get that Inner Circle program. Again, 79-cent Polar Pops and Frosters are a pretty darn good deal regardless. Save a little 10 cents extra. There we go. Terms and
don't forget, you also get 5 free, don't you, when you sign up for the Inner Circle program?
This is a good point.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that.
So they're not just
club.
10 cents off. You get your first 5 completely free.
And of course, they have a bevy of snacks. Producer Damon.
Oh, yeah.
If you will. It is that
He's
time.
doing the gummy bears today, I believe.
Yeah,
gummy bears?
It's the gummy bears. We'll show the people, right? We've got a little Circle K branding. These Circle K snacks do hit differently. Yes, for sure.
I had a couple
Fruity gummy bears.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
A little bit of sugar in you, you know?
I mean, I kind of need a little pick me up. All right, here we go.
Here we go.
What a toss.
That was beautiful.
One of these days, Max
Just
is going to choke live on air.
I mean, it's good.
We're going to be here like smacking his back trying to get
Mine
it
and
out.
Max's chemistry has really improved every episode.
It really has.
I told you the standard's been pretty high.
That was a hell of a toss. Max, great positioning out of you.
Likewise. I barely had to move, man. Honestly, it was great hang time.
That was a Harry Kane goal. Just a tap in right there. You know?
That's fine. You allowed me to locate the ball. Nice and easy.
That's the best kind of goal. Nice and easy. Just putting it on a tee. And here comes the finisher.
You put it
the golden boot winner.
You put it right on the goal mouth, and I followed it home, baby. But yes, check out Circle K. Terms and conditions do apply at participating locations for more details. Also, shout out friends at Valley Tap Room. Valley Tap Room. Excuse me, Valley Tap Room there, right? They got 2 locations in Gilbert and Queen Creek. Pretty fun stuff. Again, Gilbert locations where we've had our watch party. Again, we're gonna bring it up every darn week if we have to, and we will. Spain Say Football. That's where we watch it happen.
They say
live.
Football.
Boom. They say football.
They saved football.
And now, you can watch.
We'll speak about that a little bit more afterwards now that someone's back here.
Cinema.
Oh, I freaking love it. Yes. That's where it happened there.
Well, at least Spain Say Football.
The Queen Creek location, right? We're going to do some Phoenix Rising stuff down the road there. I'm not going to
Ooh.
say Phoenix Rising, say football, but, that's a conversation for another time. Yes, check out our friends at Valley Tap Room. 2 locations, Gilbert, Queen Creek. Find them online at valleytaproom.com. And, of course, check them out on socials at Valley Tap Room.
There we go.
This is the thing, you were kind of talking about it before we, had gummy bears thrown into my orbit. It is kind of the interesting kind of quandary, and this kind of honestly goes hand in hand with kind of what we've been trying to see from this club of, right, the transfers, who's coming in. We've seen people coming in, but it is kind of this bigger question overall of not only the short term of who's coming in, but, right, what is the longer term strategy? Because I think we were talking a bit about the longer you go on with this interim tag, there is a balance of weighing out the options and figuring out, is Diego the right guy for the job? But also, at what point are you saying we're looking ahead to the future? And I'm not saying punting on this season, but at some point you're gonna have a realistic conversation of where you're expecting to finish.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. And partly because at the end of the day, the Western Conference is so tight right now that any kind of acquisitions that you could bring in, you could change the game a little bit here. You can change how things are going simply because everyone is so close in the standings at the moment.
Was it did we say 5 points? Separate Rising from third place.
There's very little in it. There is very little in it, and so it means that you can turn things around still at this point. However, the issue is, of course, you've got to start actually thinking about that sooner rather than later. Look, at the end of the day, we know how this league works. 2/3 of teams make it into the playoffs. It can feel a little bit over the top in that sense, but you can finish mid-table and ultimately make a run to the final, as Phoenix Rising did. I don't think you'll do it again in the way that they managed to do it last time, and I also think that a playoff run on the road is, again, a very tricky one. You've got to think about this from a business perspective as well. It's not ideal for Phoenix Rising to be having to go on the road for all of these playoff games because that's just expense. It's just expense. Every single round, it's just expense. But at the end of the day, you saw what it meant last year, and it's possible, even if it's difficult and even if it's not ideal. So I don't think you really draw the line under this season and won't for a while because, again, you'll be in it until relatively late. So many teams in this league drop points every single week. I mean, Harry was bringing up San Antonio earlier. San Antonio are in free fall at the moment. They're looking worse than Phoenix Rising are. And yet they beat Phoenix Rising. Their only win, I believe, in the last 8. Their only non-loss in the last 8. Again, it's pretty dismal. But it can be turned around. But the key thing is taking the right steps to turn it around, because I don't think that if the team keeps doing what they've been doing, they're going to ultimately turn it around. They do need to find, honestly, some new people to come in. They need a new player or two to try and fix things and try and help turn things around at this point. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the quandary that this team is yes, there is ample opportunity to turn things around in the short term, but it is also, are you having the right person in the job moving forward? I think it is a very tough balance to strike, and this team, while a Band-Aid helps for this season, this team needs more than a Band-Aid.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
and that's the thing, the tough part. I don't know how you kind of go about that.
Yeah, it's difficult. But obviously there have been tweets, or tweet, shall we say, about some potential moves. We can have a look at that tweet now, please, Producer Damon. So here it is from Brandon McCarthy, a club sporting director. Yes, reinforcements are coming sometime soon. I'll tell you the story of the last month and the shit show we've had getting players. Apparently there is a player coming in. I will say that the time is ticking in terms of, say, an international signing at this point. Remember, the US registration period is currently open. It opened a couple of weeks ago on the 18th. It will close on the 14th of August. So any international-based players that are being registered into the US Federation will have to be done by the 14th of August. Remember, that is a pretty hard deadline. You have to get stuff done in time to run them through the TMS. We've seen issues when things get left late before, of course. We saw that with David Rodriguez. Arturo's brother was supposed to sign on loan for Phoenix Rising, and it didn't go through because despite him showing up, the paperwork wasn't done correctly in Mexico, and so by the time that they got around to trying to fix it, it was too late. So again, you've got to be careful. You've got to make sure that you get moves in sooner rather than later, because again, if you hit that 14th, you're really up against it at that point.
Yeah.
You have to go domestic at that point.
Yeah. And I mean, listen, that's then the tough part of if you're trying to pull from other USL Championship clubs. And again, you kind of go after looking how tight the table is. That makes it much more difficult to get a deal done.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, you need to resolve that. I think this club has been asking for a striker for quite some time, and I know there have been people who haven't necessarily been fully sold on the fact that bringing in number 9 is the priority. The fan base certainly seems to think it's a priority. I'm looking at this team and think that it's a pretty important thing to get sorted. I think it's an important piece that the club ultimately neglected earlier in the season. I think the idea that you'd rely on Remy Cabral alone and a Dariusz Formella who didn't really want to play in that position. He sees himself as more of a winger, even if he can play. As more of a number 9 as well, if needed. But you need someone else who's going to manage to bring goals in. And that's really the biggest issue I think they've had for a lot of this season. And again, get that resolved now, and I think you're in a better position. Get that resolved now, and I think you've got a chance to make a run come the end of the season. But don't get that resolved. Conversely, I feel as though you're going to struggle.
Yep. Sounds about right. One thing I'm not going to struggle with is drinking a little Four Peaks beer. Four Peaks beer goes down smooth every single time. A little Bad Birdie juicy golden ale. It is for the people. It is delicious. It's
Max. We got a comment yesterday on our one of our D-backs shows that we did. One of the 2. We're also doing 2 D-back shows today as well. So 4 shows in 2 days. No big
trade
deal.
Deadline. Boom. Yes.
But in one of the shows, someone left a comment. I had a Bad Birdie at Chase Field tonight, and I get it now.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
Is there anything more Arizona than that?
It's one of the best beers I've ever had in my entire life, and I don't mean that. I do not mean that gingerly. Like that is a fact. It is that
you
good.
are not ginger.
Well, thank you, Owen.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale is for the people. It's absolutely delicious. I mean, right, you just talked about having a Bad Birdie, boom, Arizona brand, with Four Peaks, boom, Arizona brand, with Chasefield, boom, Arizona, all in the same place. It's that damn good. Check them out at Four Peaks Pub and at Four Peaks Brew to keep up with the latest and greatest going on in Arizona's hometown brewery. Of course, you must be 21 years or older to enjoy responsibly.
Sinking beers.
Sinking beers.
Max is sinking beers. Max, you going to Colorado Springs this weekend?
We'll get a little bit more on Thursday, but yes, that's the aside.
We'll
yes, there's a good handful of people joining it. I mean, shoot, a couple handfuls of people if the word is correct.
Oh yeah.
But speaking of people who are traveling, again, we alluded to it earlier. Our beloved Statlacky Reese
did some travel.
He is back. He had traveled. Reese, why don't you go hop on with Damon Dog and let people know. Talk about your voyage. Where'd you go? What'd you do? What was the occasion?
I hear you went to England to see England lose.
Oh, boy.
Wasn't it great? Wasn't it? What a night that was.
Statlacky Reese on the mic.
It was a miserable night.
It was
probably bottom 5 nights of my life, I feel. That one was.
Wow, that's low.
Yeah. I mean, the vibes in the pub before the match were sky high, but then the second the match started.
You remembered the fact that you were England.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
How did it compare to the one, the previous Euro final?
Well, the 2021, there was more hope because we scored so early.
Yeah.
So then there's
the
like
hope that kills you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then Cole Palmer's goal that gave.
Here we go. Yeah.
Thank you, Damon. Thank
To
you.
be fair, I mean, it was a question there from Gullyman Pat. How many cheers did you throw?
I did not. That was
you
all
didn't
my
throw
dad.
any cheers. Your dad was throwing cheers.
I wasn't old enough yet.
Oh, that's fair enough. He wasn't throwing any cheers. That's good. That's good.
He wasn't old enough yet. That was a stopping. Okay. So, what were some of the other highlights from the trip?
Going to Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle. I really love that. I love the royal family. So
oh, you're one of those.
Seeing the burial place of Queen Elizabeth was really beautiful for me.
Did he buy the whole memorial tea set and nonsense like that? You did, yeah. I'm sure you would.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Yeah. Okay.
He's also the biggest fan of our die going, aren't you?
What?
Oh, he loves our die. Oh, our die. No, that one's gone over his head. See, he's not a real follower of the, royal family. They're in charge of the English. You're supposed to. All right,
This,
there we go. I'm ripping on him for this, and it's not working.
Where people are like, talking about.
You weren't throwing cheers.
No.
Again, it's coming up in the chat.
All right, so I know you went over, right?
Did you throw any cheers at Buckingham Palace?
No.
Also, you are getting stick for the royal family now, correctly so.
Buckingham Palace.
Correctly
That is
so.
a place that deserves respect.
It is.
All right. You got the sausage fingers and all good times. All good times.
Oh boy. So okay. So you don't want to.
Did it give you any like inclination that maybe like inbreeding is a thing, for these people?
You just respect the dead. These people fight. God save the queen. God save the king.
I mean, it's a bit late for the queen. The main queen is dead.
Reincarnation. Come on.
I mean, you got Camilla now, I guess, but no reincarnation. What's she gonna come back as?
Maybe a manager for England. New manager. We do need one.
Manager would bring about as much life into that team as Gareth Southgate did. To be fair.
Sort of charity director, humanitarian, stuff like that.
Oh.
Why? All they did was take money. Why? They just took money.
We love the royal family.
No, we don't, Damon. Damon here shouting, "We love the royal family." No, we're not saying that.
We do.
How have we gotten into just a discussion on the royal family? The biggest welfare family in the world, says Kevin.
What are we talking about? Okay. Yes, mixed weird.
Has taken a turn.
I mean, we haven't a pod where that's truly taken a turn in quite a while. So we were due for one. Okay, so you had a celebrated birthday out there. The first, I guess on location legal beer. I know it wasn't Four Peaks, but how was it?
It was good.
It was good.
I didn't have much beer cider, but
it's understandable.
There we go.
It's okay. We're pacing. All right. More proud of you. Happy to have you back. Now,
not if you're going to keep up with this royal family nonsense.
Now your job is to fix Phoenix Rising.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sal.
So here's actually no. Here's the question, right? Which one is more finished, Queen Elizabeth or Phoenix Rising this season?
Phoenix Rising.
There's no hesitation.
Yeah. Wow. They don't bring in money. We're not getting into this.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. All right. Salaki. Thank you very much. Damon Dogs actually wants free from Devenall. Damon, we can't love Wrexham and the royal family at the same time. Cater, respond.
Here's what I love, Devin. Getting Owain triggered. That's what I love.
Quite good.
And if that means the royal family in Wrexham, that means the royal family.
I mean, you can't really mix those
do.
because it feels like you're desecrating Paul Mullen at that point.
Paul Mullen.
I mean, the man has some views on at least certain politicians. I'll put it that way.
I mean, you're going to come after my guy Paul Mullen
now?
After that incredible acting performance?
I'm not going to come after him. I'm not going to come after him for what he said.
He stole the show. He stole the show, Owen.
Yeah, fair enough.
He might win an Oscar. What do you think, Max?
Hold on. Who?
Paul Mullen?
Who? Paul Mullen.
This is absolutely, by the way. I feel like we'll already have wound up potentially anyone who was potentially going to be wound up in the course of our discussion.
I thought you said Paul Mullen.
It's actually a question for Reese again here. And the question is, which is in a deeper box? Is it Lizzie or San Diego? San Diego, he says.
That was a good question.
Valid question.
Sorry,
yeah,
I thought you said Paul Mullins. Got you.
Lizzie is getting reincarnated.
No.
Yeah.
And San Diego will never.
Well, San Diego's coming back as Chrome and Azul, San Diego FC in MLS.
I gotta say, Owen, just be honest with me for a second. How mad does it make you that Paul Mullen is decked out in a Welsh outfit like that? He's not even from Wales.
I mean, doesn't he technically qualify to play for Wales if he wanted to?
He's born in England.
He could qualify to play for Wales, though.
You look on his Wikipedia, he's an English professional footballer.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people who are
that's pretty
born in England who are eligible to play for Wales.
Yeah, his grandmother.
Yeah, there we go. That'll do the job. There we go. Yeah, he's eligible. He was on the standby list.
Scouse Welsh.
What a combo.
Don't start with the Scouse Welsh. You're going to wind some people in the chat up here now. Okay, let's not go down that route. Okay, that's not going to end well for certain people here. So I'd recommend not going after the Scouse Welsh.
On that note,
You've already
appreciate
got
everyone
yourself in
joining
enough
us
trouble
here
with
on another
bringing up
episode
the Royal
of the
Family.
PHNX Rising podcast. Of course, you can follow us at PHNX__ Rising because double the underscore.
Double the fingers on the Royal Family. If we're gonna bring it up, I'm gonna say it.
Goalie man Pat, what a comment. Mullen will have more acting trophies.
We didn't have to say it. You can follow me. You can follow me on Twitter at Max David Simpson. You can follow Owen on Twitter at OJ Evans 18. You can follow the returning Stylacky Reese at Reese11_. You can follow Damon Dog on Twitter at Damon DAWG. Appreciate everyone joining us. We'll be back on Thursday with I would say a preview of Colorado Springs, which we will do, but also knowing how the show goes off the rails, I can't promise you what else will happen.
See, this is what I was telling you. Don't wind up the Scouse Welsh. Don't do it. It's not a good idea. Don't wind them up.
Oh,
be nice to him. Be nice to him, Damon.
Well, yell at Reese. I didn't say anything about the Scouse Welsh.
I blame Damon in this one. I think
all I said was that he was Scouse.
The young lad. I think that's unfair to put it on the young lad.
The young lad who's an adult.
He is a man now.
We can try him as an adult at this point.
It's a beautiful game, but it's way more beautiful when we end this episode. Good night.
We all silly like the mayor.